Hi, I'm Sam and welcome to Autistic Changeling. So in this video I wanted to talk about the title of my channel, why I chose it, what it means, and so on. But first, an introduction to me because this is my first video. I'm Sam, I'm autistic, I'm 23 years old, and I have a YouTube channel. So the autistic part of my channel name is fairly straightforward. I'm autistic. Autistic is in the name of my channel. I want to talk about autistic stuff. Probably I will go off topic, but that was my original intent. The Changeling is more what I want to talk about here. So Changeling is a reference to mythology. It is not a Star Trek reference, but secretly in my heart it also is, because I love Star Trek. For anyone who isn't as familiar with Star Trek as I am, there is a species in Star Trek colloquially known as Changelings. They're from Deep Space Nine. It's a great show. And I will talk about it at some other point. A lot, probably. But for now, I want to talk about mythology. So this is mythology from various parts of Europe, I think. Side note, I'm not necessarily an expert on this, and if you are and you want to link resources down in the comments, feel free to do that, because I want you to take everything I say here with a pinch of salt as far as the actual historical accuracy goes. This is my understanding currently. I did not put a whole lot of research into this before I started saying it. Probably should have, but I didn't. So here we go. Basically, the understanding I have of this mythology is that there was this concept that fairies would take human children and replace them with their own fairy children. I'm not sure what they did with the human children, which is kind of creepy, actually. Why were they taking human children? They were very valuable to them, apparently, but their own children were not, and they were okay with just abandoning them with humans. That doesn't seem like great parenting to me. But nevertheless, they did it, and the humans would raise the fairy child thinking it was their own child. But they would start to notice differences. Their child would use strange words, stop talking, or start talking unexpectedly, or look at them in unusual ways, just generally be out of the ordinary, in ways which, in retrospect, to historians and to autistic people themselves, are recognizably autistic ways. Or potentially these stories were about developmental disabilities in general, not just specifically autistic people. But I'm autistic, so obviously that's the perspective I'm looking at it from. And in general, historians have theorized that, maybe these were ways of rationalizing and understanding this because they didn't have the same words for things that we have now. So that's the basis of the mythology. And a lot of the stories that I'm familiar with, I say stories I'm familiar with, a lot of my understanding of this is based on the idea that, people needed to know how to tell if your child's a changeling. I think they might have tried to kill children they thought were changelings sometimes. I'm sure not everybody did, but that was a thing that unfortunately still happens to this day. But nevertheless, so I chose to name my channel Autistic Changeling because, well, first of all, as a kid, I was really into fantasy and fairies and all of that. And I really loved the idea that maybe I was secretly some kind of magical creature, had magical powers. I tried desperately to learn telekinesis, never succeeded. But I tried really hard, a lot. And that's something that still kind of is there in my heart. So that's certainly an element of it, it seems fun in a way. But I also know that dehumanization is something that is still used against autistic people. It's not common anymore to say that autistic people are secretly fairy children, but it is common to talk about how autism might have stolen your child, or to call autistic people robots, or to use language in general that implies that autistic people aren't really humans. That's something that absolutely still happens, and that's not an okay thing to do at all. I think me choosing to use Changeling in my channel name is different than if someone were to use it against me. It's a form of reclamation that I would never advise everybody else to use as well, and I wouldn't advise anybody who's not autistic to use this kind of language for an autistic person unless you know for a fact that they're okay with it. But I also like the idea of using changeling mythology because it's something that, first of all, happened so long ago that it's not, you know, the ideas behind it might still be in play today, but the specific word changeling is not still used against autistic people, to my knowledge. So there's that element to it. It's something which is related to the harm that's done today, but so outdated that it can be used by us instead of against us if we choose to use it. And I like that. That if you're going to say that autistic people aren't human anyways, at least we can pick the grounds on which we have that battle, I guess, if that makes sense. For the record, I know I'm human. I know I'm not actually a fairy. Figured I'd put that out there. I don't really want to see anybody claiming that I think that I literally can fly or something. I know what people are like on the internet. I know what we're like as people. But anyways, back on topic. I like the idea of taking that term and using it, and I've seen a lot of autistic people, okay, I say a lot, I've seen a handful of autistic people writing stories about, you know, changeling children from way back when who were actually autistic. I've seen stories about alternate realities where there are fairies and there are autistic people and how we might interact with each other. And I found all of that really fascinating. And I've wanted to see more of that type of content, but haven't really seen any. So if you have links to content like that, feel free to put them below in the comments section, and I'll check it out. And I also want to add that I know I'm using this as my channel name because I needed a name for my channel, and this was something that came to mind. But I do want to add that I know that there are probably autistic people who are uncomfortable with the concept of autistic people being not human in any way, including in changeling mythology, and don't want to have anything to do with it, and that's fine. And I would never want to make anybody feel like they have to identify with that. And I don't want to make it seem like by using this as my channel name, I'm saying that all autistic people have to identify with this. I'm saying that I think it's interesting, but even if you don't like the concept of changelings, you're still welcome to watch my channel and interact with me and stuff like that. That's A-okay. I know that I like things that other people don't like, and other people like things that I don't like, and that's fine. So that's really all I have to say about my channel name for now. But if you have any thoughts about it, feel free to leave them below, and have a great day.